Boom! Welcome back to another video. Today it's going to be about the Ickabog, summarizing it chapters 6 through 10. So I made a video summarizing chapters 1 through 5. If you want to see that, I'll have a link in the description where you can find that video. I would totally recommend you guys watch that video before you watch this one, because I do bring up some really nice points for that, and I think you guys should watch that. Without further ado, let's get started with the summary. But first, before I actually start this, let me just say that I'm looking to the side because I have notes. I wrote about 4 or 5 pages of notes so I can summarize it, so it's easier to talk my thoughts out, so just easier for you guys and easier for me as well. So let's get started. So first, chapter 6. This chapter basically talks about how Daisy does feel something for her mother even 2 years after her death, I believe, because they were 5 years old in chapter 5. I believe that's how it is. So, and now they're 7 years old, and this will lead to her picking a fight with her best friend, Bert Beamish. And then when the daughter of the new head seamstress says,
"Oh, I do hope the king waves at us today,"
Daisy does reply after saying,
"Well, I don't care if you haven't worked my mother so hard, she'd still be alive. He's selfish, vile, and cruel." So
that phrase, selfish, vile, and cruel, will come up later in the text. And Bert also was at the scene, and he tries to calm Daisy down, but he just simply says, "Daisy, don't be silly." Now inside Daisy's mind, she couldn't retaliate it, and she lost her temper, like when Bert called her silly. So what she did was she threw back her hand and smacked Bert in the face. Obviously, we didn't expect this at all, and other kids around her were trying to encourage a fight and between the two, and they suggested that Bert hit her back. So Bert ended up giving her a half-hearted shove, and Daisy then launched herself at Bert, and as Rowling describes it, everything became dust and elbows until suddenly the two children were being pulled apart by Bert's father, Mayor Beamish. Lord Spittleworth saw this going on, and he said,
"Dreadful behavior,"
and walked away with a broad smirk on his face. Obviously something suspicious is going on here. So now, chapter 7. The scene changes when Spittleworth is at the dining room table when he tries to inform King Fred about the fight. Spittleworth is clearly against this fight and indicates that he is up to something, for he's acting very suspicious. Spittleworth keeps insisting that Mayor Beamish should tell the story because he's the one who split the two children up. Eventually, Mayor Beamish was called to talk, and he finds himself in a pickle because he knew that Daisy had disrespected the king, but he didn't want to say it. Beamish tries not to get her in trouble, so he ends up adding that Daisy's mom was the seamstress who recently died, like I mentioned in chapters 1 through 5. But King Fred does cut him off by saying,
Yes, I remember."
And right after, before Mayor Beamish heads out the door, the king asks him one more question.
"What exactly did the girl say?"
Mayor Beamish had no choice but to tell the truth and responded with exactly what Daisy had said: selfish, vile, and cruel. That's where the significance is. And now, chapter 8. When the king woke up the next morning, he wanted to reward Bert Beamish for standing up to Daisy. So he took a small medallion that hung around the neck of his favorite hunting dog and decided to give it to Bert. So Bert was taken out of school to see the king to receive his medal. But when he got back from school and saw Daisy coming, he hid the medal out of sight. So obviously he doesn't want Daisy to see that he did a good deed, and he doesn't want to show that because he knows Daisy would probably be upset. The next day after that, it was the day called Petition Day, where the people of Cornucope could address their problems to Fred, and he would solve it with a few coins and a few kind words. That day, however, Fred was being particularly stubborn, as he didn't want to wear the outfit that his dressers had prepared for him, but instead he wore a black suit that he wore to his father's funeral. As he was getting prepared, he thought,
"And would a selfish king hurry to meet simple people who wanted favors from them?"
thought Fred. No, he wouldn't. Petition Day went as planned, and King Fred did everything he could to prove that he was a wonderful man, but at the end of the day, Daisy's comments, selfish, vile, and cruel, still stuck in his head. Now, chapter 9. Later that day, a marshlander person had traveled very far to get to King Fred. His assistants insisted, say that 5 times, assistants insisted that he doesn't let them come in, but King Fred lets them in anyway. It turns out that it was an old man who came from afar, and the man said when he came in,
"I have traveled for 5 days long for to see ye. It has been a long hard journey. I has ridden in hayricks when I could and walked when I couldn't, and my boots is all holes."
And Spittleworth does interrupt him and by rudely saying,
"Oh, get on with it."
and the man does mention his dog after that he once owned, Patch. And the king questions it, but he offers to give him some gold to get a new dog. The old man does reject this, and he says there's nothing that can replace his good old dog Patch. So King Fred does seem very bored with this, until the man mentions that he thinks the Ickabog ate his dog. Spittleworth and Flapoon laugh at this hysterically, and they think this must be a joke. The man does reckon that he did see the Ickabog with his own eyes, and so did Patch before he was eaten. The king did feel a strong urge to laugh, but again, he remembered what Daisy said and held back. He asked the man to tell him exactly what happened. The old man explains that he sees, why do the people make it so hard to pronounce these things? Marsh teals, which are basically like bald rats. His dog Patch chases it, and the man tries to call for Patch, but he won't listen and come back. The man tries to go out and find Patch, but as he reaches a foggy area, he saw the Ickabog with its eyes like lanterns and a mouth as wide as a throne, and his wicked teeth shining at him. So you guys can just imagine that, like a really scary figure. After that, King tells him that they will travel north today to investigate the matter of the Ickabog once and for all. So moving on to chapter 10, the last chapter we're going to summarize today. So King Fred does decide to go on this quest to help this old farmer man, and he wants to do it because he wants to prove that he wasn't selfish, vile, or cruel, like Daisy had said. And the king tries to hide the fact that he was on the quest looking for the Ickabog, but with the word spread anyway, and almost everybody knew about it now in the town. But now everybody from the town came to cheer the king on as he was leaving with Spittleworth and Flapoon. And Bert and his mother were there screaming at the top of their lungs as they waved as his dad, Mayor Beamish, was also leaving the town. Daisy and her father had also come out of their garden, and they were just able to see the king and his servants passing. Daisy and Bert still weren't talking to each other, and Daisy then asks her father if the Ickabog is real. Mr. Dovetail responds by saying,
There's no such thing as an Ickabog, but if the king wants to believe in it, let him. He can't do much harm up in the marshland.
I can tell that Mr. Dovetail does have sort of the same mentality as Daisy does, and I wonder if that is any significance that maybe Mr. Dovetail doesn't like the king in some sort of way, and he taught Daisy to act the same way. Finally, the chapter ends with this excerpt, which just goes to show that even sensible men may fail to see a terrible looming danger. So that's pretty much how it ends. That is the summary of chapters 6 through 10 of the Ickabog by J.K. Rowling. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did get value out of this, then be sure to subscribe. I know this is out of the norm and I don't normally post this. I post videos about tech, tutorials, and lifestyle videos. So if you enjoy that, be sure to subscribe, and also subscribe because I will have more videos summarizing the Ickabog in the future. If there's chapters 11 through 15, I don't know if there is, probably will be. But I will be summarizing that as well. If you did like this, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.